Right, Phil Wainwright from Diginomica. I'm here with Rod Drury, CEO of Xero at XeroCon in London. Rod, Xero is very much focused on small businesses and Diginomica is very much focused on large businesses. So why is small business accounting of interest to large businesses?
Hey Phil, great to see you and great to have you here. So we're in 4 main countries, 600,000 customers in over 180 countries. But in our early markets, we're seeing the second order effects of what happens when you get to scale. So in our first market, New Zealand, we have 25% of all small businesses. We processed a third of GDP through our platform.
Wow.
So we have more small business customers than any other large business. So more than a telco, more than any of the banks, more than large energy providers. So what we're seeing now is we're becoming this aggregation point. So large businesses are automating their supply chains by connecting to us. So like an example of that would be, rather than a telco thinking, hey, I'm going to start charging $2 for a paper statement, better to build more customer intimacy and stickiness by connecting their billing system, their customer portal to Xero, so those transactions, all those billing, telco transaction, data transactions get sent directly through to Xero. We can automatically classify them. So they're connecting their ERP system directly into the workflow of their small business customers.
So you become a kind of mediation point between the big business and the small businesses.
Yeah, and I think this is really new. I think large enterprises thought they'd put these portals and customers would come and interact directly. Yeah. The reality is you've got to market to them, it's very expensive, they have to go somewhere else to do the work. Whereas what's actually happened is aggregators like ourselves are in market, and it's worth us investing with those large companies to bring those workflows directly into our software. So that's why the small business SaaS space is now becoming very interesting to large businesses and to integrators who are working in the large business space.
And obviously by aggregating all of those transactions, you get a lot of insight into all that data.
Yeah, and the idea is to use that for good. We're doing a lot of machine learning, all of those things now. So the history of cloud really is most of us who have been in the space for the almost 10 years we have really been working on Cloud One. And that's where you might work with a third party, but you basically put up your own racks, put up your own servers, and your customers connect through the cloud. And that's great, anywhere, anytime, all those cloud benefits. Over the last 3 years, what we've seen is this arms race between Amazon, Google, and Microsoft, which have made the public cloud compelling. So while a lot of people, a lot of incumbents have been investing from desktop or client server to cloud version 1, you now have to move into cloud version 2, which is use the public cloud for a few reasons. One is you'll get the lowest cost to serve, so if you're going to drive a high margin business, you must be on that. But you also get faster deployment and all those good things. But this arms race between the big three means they're now getting machine language tools, big data tools, and putting that alongside your transactional data. So in the accounting software industry, we've really been working on moving those millions of lines of code from desktop into the cloud, getting the data in. We processed over $300 billion of transactions last year. That now is kind of cleaned up. What we now need to do is apply this machine learning, big data analytics. So you need to do that inside the data center, which is why all of the vendors need to move from Cloud 1 to Cloud 2.
So Cloud 2, you're saying, is it's your scale together with the scale of the infrastructure providers, the public cloud providers that you are going to run on top of.
Absolutely. So in our industry, it kind of looks like we're all doing the same thing. The incumbents are moving from desktop, but we're all building purchase orders, credit notes, all the mandatory features of small business accounting software. Now that's largely done, and we've got the data cleaned up in the cloud. We can start applying machine learning, all those sort of things. Like, it's crazy that small businesses still code transactions. Across those $300 billion of transactions we saw last year, 99.7% of transactions we could automatically code. So this next bit of innovation that's enabled by the public cloud and using those tools, we'll see innovation accelerate over the next 3 to 5 years.
And you feel that being on Cloud 2 is the platform for that innovation, and that you see as an advantage for Xero?
Well, it's mandatory, and if you haven't started that journey, it's a 3-year gap. So again, because cloud, in the first generation, we're just getting into the cloud, it looks like we're all doing the same things, and so you go, oh, that's a little bit better, or that product's slightly better. As you start adding machine learning, driving the analytics over all that data to drive better outcomes for customers, the gap between old world software and new software will change. So it's really interesting for the industry because we all have to go back and now reinvent ourselves, and we saw this coming down the track, so we're largely through getting all of our stuff into public cloud.
Right, fascinating. It's going to be interesting to watch that.
Absolutely.
Okay, Rod, thank you very much. Good
Thank
to
you.
speak to you. Thanks.